Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupada. Continuing our discussion on Īśopaniṣad, Mantra 50. Hiranmayena patrena satyasya pihitam mukham tattvam pushana pavarno satya dharmaya drishtaye. O my Lord, sustainer of all that lives, your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure devotee. So we see that in this mantra, the mood of recitation changes. There is this strong prayerful mood that is now appearing. So this essentially is the last section of the Īśopaniṣad. So in the first section, mantras 1 to 3 talked about Īśavāsyam, living in harmony with Krishna. Mantras 4 and 8 talked about the visions of the Mahabharata, how Krishna is inside and outside, far and near, pure and purifying. Then in mantras 9 to 14, the right and wrong practice, vidyam, avidyam, the right and wrong upasana, sambhutim and asambhuti were talked about. Now, in the last 4 mantras, we see fervent prayers by the worshipper for the mercy of the Lord. So, the point that is made is that only by the mercy of the Lord can one attain liberation. So the first 2 mantras are to be able to see the Lord face to face. And the second 2 mantras is our prayer to overcome all obstacles. And so in the third section, we spoke about the different kinds of endeavor and worship. And the conclusion was to perform the right action, which is bhakti, directed towards the right object, which is the Lord, Supreme Lord or Krishna, while carefully being cognizant of the obstacles, which is material illusions, right? So study vidyam and avidyam side by side. Like vidyam being the process of devotional service, avidyam being varnashram dharma. Right? And by vidyam, one worships Krishna, and by avidyam, one conquers that which is fallible, the material bindings. So one may at this point think that all that is needed to attain the Supreme is by doing the right thing towards the right object. But from this mantra, a different position is being stated, that despite all the endeavors, even the right endeavor towards the right, so wrong endeavor towards the wrong object will undoubtedly take one to some different path. But even the right endeavor to the right object does not in any way assure one of meeting the Lord. And the point is that the meeting of the Lord needs to be accompanied by His mercy. So example of the asuras are given that many of the asuras meet the Lord either in the battlefield or like in the Mahabharata we see Duryodhan and the Kauravas, they were regularly meeting the Lord. Karna was meeting the Lord. But liberation was not there because they did not get the mercy of the Lord. So the final step for perfection is mercy of the Lord. And these concluding set of 4 mantras show the method of praying for the mercy of the Lord. So it shows that what should one pray for and what is the mood in which one should pray. It's very, very illuminating prayers. So summary explanation of this mantra. that only when one attains the mercy of the Lord can one attain the Lord. Despite all the attempts, unless there is mercy of the Lord, the destination is not assured. It's stated both positively and negatively. That when one attains the mercy of the Lord, one can attain the Lord. And if the mercy of the Lord is there, not there, one can never attain the Lord. Right? So one cannot achieve Krishna only by endeavor, even if that endeavor is 100% bona fide. Then the question is that why does the Īśopaniṣad and the Vedas even speak about this endeavor? If the endeavor is not sufficient to get the mercy of the Lord. So the point that is made is that the endeavor makes one qualified to receive the mercy, and therefore it is important. So when one endeavors, then it's like when one buys a lottery ticket, he may win. If one does not buy it, he will never win. Now, just buying the lottery ticket does not assure that you will win. But nevertheless, one needs to buy the ticket to even have a small chance of winning. So the endeavor needs to be there to get the mercy. Now, of course, the analogy is not fully in parallel, because the mercy of the Lord can even compensate for the endeavor. If Krishna's mercy is flowing, then even if a person has not made any endeavor, Krishna can take him. But these are exceptional situations, right? We cannot wait. Prabhupada says you cannot wait to win a lottery ticket to become rich, right? If you win it, it's a bonus. But you cannot say that I won't study, I won't go to college, I'll just win a lottery ticket, right? So the endeavor needs to be there, which attracts the mercy of the Lord. That is why it is important. So when a sincere devotee is endeavoring earnestly, he will eventually attract the mercy. And because one does not have control on the mercy of the Lord, one only has control on their own endeavor. So endeavor is considered to be equally, if not more important, right? Because it's something you have control of. You work hard and then the result is not in your hand. So what do you have in control? Your hard work. So that's why it is more important there. The example of Damodar Leela is given that Yashoda Maya was trying to bind Damodar, and she was failing because she did not have the kripa, the mercy of the Lord. But then she kept trying and trying and trying, and her face was sweating, there were beads of perspiration. And seeing the intense endeavor of his devotee, Krishna's mercy flew, and he allowed himself to be bound. Right? So earlier on, that mercy was not manifesting, but when the endeavor became intense, the mercy overcame Krishna. It said that even though Krishna did not want to get bound, but his Kripa Shakti overcame him, and he allowed himself to be bound. So in this mantra, the prayer is for the mercy of the Lord to make himself accessible. And the purport is divided into three parts. Prabhupada first comments on the word Pushan. That Pushan, he explains, refers to Krishna, who is the basis of Brahman and Paramatma. Then he speaks about Satya Dharmaya Drishyate, that how Krishna reveals himself beyond the impersonal Brahman. And in the paragraph 6 to 10, he speaks about how the ultimate revelation of Bhagavan only comes by bhakti. So one thing that this mantra does is that it strongly establishes the personal feature of the Lord, right? Because in this verse you see that the prayer is that please remove the effulgence from your face. So who has a face? One who has a form, right? So we also see that the devotee is saying that please remove your effulgence. The effulgence here is the Brahma Jyoti. So what does it mean? That behind the Brahma Jyoti, behind this impersonal effulgence, there is a person. And what does it also mean? That the person has control on the effulgence. Because if Brahma Jyoti was more powerful than the person, then the praise would be directed at the Brahma Jyoti. That you are so powerful, please move out and reveal the person behind you. But no, the prayer is to the Lord that remove this Brahmajyoti, right? So which means that the Brahmajyoti is a secondary feature of the Lord, which means that the personal feature is superior to the impersonal. Right? And in the past mantras also, we see that right beginning from mantra 9, right? Vidya in mantra 9 was impersonal, and Andam Tama Pravashyate. The destination is the darkest of the regions. But when the mantra starts talking about Sambhuti, about Krishna, then the destination is glorified. Right? So we've already seen that those who are steeped in avidya worship the Brahmajyoti, and those who are in Vidya, they worship the Supreme Lord. Right? So essentially this mantra is praying to the Sambhuti that was developed in mantras 12 through 14. So the prayer is to the Supreme Personality of Godhead to remove his impersonal aspect, to reveal the personal aspect. And the fact that he can do so indicates that the personal feature is under his control. This mantra also establishes the process of revelation. Right? So the process of revelation is by surrender. Right? So after giving so many procedures, Ishavasyam, how to live in Krishna consciousness, Atma, how to avoid living not in Krishna consciousness, Vidya. So after giving so many processes, the Īśopaniṣad, now there is no more process given, just prayers. Right? So ultimately, the last step of revelation is simply surrendering to the Lord. Surrendering to the Lord means relying on his mercy, right? And the means of expressing that is vandanam. Like Prahlad Maharaj talks about the 9 limbs of bhakti, one of them is vandanam or prayers. Like Akrura, he attained perfection by rendering beautiful prayers. So the fact that one person is praying to another person means that there are two distinct persons. And so again, this refutes the notion of everybody being the same. Because remember, a person has reached this stage after he has perfected all the attendant processes. After he has done the do's and avoided the don'ts, he is now at a perfect stage. According to the Mayavadi conception, he is now Brahman. So why does one part of the Brahman need to pay to the other part of Brahman? There is no need. But the fact that the perfected Jiva is now praying to Krishna means that there are two different people. Which means that the Jiva is always subservient to the Lord, even in the perfected stage. Okay. Also, it says that one who's praying is a dependent position, and one who's praying is in an independent position. So, this concept of Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, you're all very familiar with, right? We have studied this over and over again, that the Lord, the Supreme Form, he manifests as Brahman, which is his effulgence, and he manifests as Paramatma, which is the localized Lord in the material world. Śrīla Prabhupada speaks about it, so that's why we have also put it over there. This is the essence of this appears in the Bhagavatam 1 to 11. Vadanti tattva tattva vidas tattvam yash jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdayate. Like it is considered as one of the essential verses of the Bhagavatam. Right? The other, of course, is Etecham Sakala Purusha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So Prabhupada talks a little about these three aspects of the absolute Brahman. So he said Brahman represents eternity or existential aspect of the Lord. Paramatma represents Chit, consciousness or sensuous awareness, in addition to Sat. And Bhagavan represents Anand, happiness or bliss, in addition to Sat and Chit. So a little bit more about these three aspects. So firstly, when the devotee is praying for the curtain of effulgence to be removed, the acharyas say that it is a two-sided curtain. There is one side of the curtain that is covering the Lord, and that is the effulgence of the Brahman. And there is another side of the curtain that is covering the Jiva, which is the effulgence of the Maya, the false effulgence of material energy. Right? So the word Hiranmayena Patrena, so Hiranmayena means like gold, and Patrena means to as if to drink from a vessel that is filled with gold, right? Which essentially talks about the effulgence of the Brahmajyoti. And so the Jiva is praying to the Lord that let this two-sided curtain go away. Srila Prabhupada focuses mostly on the Brahman effulgence. Some of the other acharyas talk about the other side of the curtain. And one reason Prabhupada doesn't speak about it is because the Jiva at this stage is perfected. So he has already transcended Maya. So he may not have to pray for removing of Maya because he is already beyond Maya. But one can also understand the Jiva to humility is praying that may I not be covered in future by Maya, or whatever the residual Maya covering that is there on me, remove it. But the primary focus is praying to Krishna to remove the effulgence that covers his face so that he can relish the personal form. Then the second aspect is the Paramatma, right? So Paramatma is the material incarnation or the incarnation of Krishna in the material world. Right? Because Paramatma does not exist outside the material world. Brahman exists actually in the spiritual world. It is the lowest form of existence in the spiritual world. But we know from the Bhagavatam that when Krishna wants to create, then he first expands into Karnodaksha Vishnu through a series of expansion. He expands to Balaram, Chaturvyu, Narayan, then the second Chaturvyu, then from Sankarshan comes Mahasankarshan, and from Mahasankarshan comes Mahavishnu or Karnodaksha Vishnu, who is the super soul for the material creation. So he's the Paramatma for the entire material creation. And then from him it comes innumerable universes. And in each universe, Karnodaksha Vishnu expands as Garbhodaksha Vishnu, who is the super soul for each universe. At the time of the destruction, Garbhodaksha Vishnu leaves the universe. And when he leaves the universe, when the super soul is gone, then it's like from the body. When the soul and super soul go away, then the body is just a lump of matter. So similarly, at the end of Brahma's life, Brahma is considered to be the soul of the universe. Garbhodaksha Vishnu is the super soul. They both leave and the universe collapses. Right? So that is the second Paramatma. And the third Paramatma is Śrī Vishnu. Right? And Śrī Vishnu is Garbhodaksha Vishnu expanding to enter into every Jiva's heart to accompany the Jiva and actually into the space between every atom. So he is sustaining each and every atom within this universe. Right? So this is the Paramatma. And then the Bhagavan. Right? So the Upanishads may speak in an impersonalist way, enigmatically, but ultimately they reveal the personal form of the Lord, as we just saw in the earlier description. So the Sat Shakti, one realizes the impersonal Brahman. With the Sat Chit Shakti, one realizes the Paramatma. And with the Sat Chit Anand Shakti, one develops a personal relationship which is all blissful with the person Krishna. So one becomes aware of one's own form, that of the others, and that of everyone else. This is not changing places but changing consciousness. So this is Bhagavan realization. So summary of the realization, the first is Sankhya, which is materialistic. So there one considers matter to be the absolute truth. And Sankhya means counting. So one analyzes matter into its constituent elements. And that's what the material scientists do. Then there is Gyan, where one appreciates the truth without potencies. So if you look at Brahman, Sat, there is nothing, there is no potency ascribed to it. In fact, all that is ascribed to it is the absence of potencies. That there is no there is no anger, there is no love, there is no hatred. So there is nothing over there. That is the existential aspect of the Lord Brahman. Is considered to be the confidential realization, the auspicious realization, the para purusha realization. Then through the process of yoga, one realizes the Satchit aspect or the Paramatma. And the Paramatma is seeing the Lord at one's own height and one's own heart by the process of yoga. And when by yoga one sees the soul, and accompanying the soul one sees the super soul. So this is the Paratara, the Purushottara, or the more confidential, or more auspicious realization. And then finally there is Bhakti, in which you realize the absolute truth with all potencies, material and spiritual. So this is Bhagwan, which is Satchitanand, and this is Paratatma, the Purushottam, the most confidential or the most auspicious. So Krishna is called Pusha or sustainer. He sustains the Brahmajyoti, the Paramatma, the Jivas, the material world and everything else. So Prabhupada makes this point because the mantra is worshipping Pusha. Right? And Pusha means one who nourishes, like one who sustains. And Krishna is called Pusha because he is sustaining not only the material world and the spiritual world, but also his own expansions as Paramatma and Brahmajyoti. Now, Prabhupada makes another point that at every level there is a path for bhakti. So there are these 4 levels of realizations. All 4 of them can lead to bhakti, and he talks about it briefly. So for a materialist, their scope of existence is pratyaksh praman. That what can I empirically ascertain, right? So they ascertain matter as a combination of 24 elements, Sankhya. And what do they experience? They experience Jada Anand. So Jada is dead. So Jada Anand means is dead in material things. Or Visha Anand. Visha Anand is again material happiness, which is essentially a mixture of suffering and happiness. So such a person can experience the material energy, but they have no realizations. So one may analyze matter till the end of time, but they will not have any realizations. There will be no internal advancement. There may be material advancement, but no subtle advancement. Right? Completely under illusion, the relationship with the Lord is suspended. Right? So the Lord reciprocates with him in the hidden form of the Paramatma to satisfy his desires based on what he deserves. So such a person wants to experience the material form of the Lord, and the Lord reciprocates in that way. Right? So from materialist to devotee, Prabhupada makes this point that from all the stages one can become a devotee. Right? So in these verses of Bhagavad Gita, like Krishna says, Bhumi Vayu Apo Vayu, that earth, water, fire, air, ether. So what is he doing? He is relating the material creation to him, that that they are my separated energies. Right? And then he relates thing that besides this, there is a superior energy of mine, which is the jivas. Right? And then all created beings are the source, and these two nature. Matata paratram nanya kinchadasti dhananjaya. There is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me. The material and the spiritual world. So we see how Krishna is starting from matter and taking to himself. Right? So this is the path to spirituality, where Krishna is taking matter and presenting himself as the sustainer of matter. He also talks about those who are working on matter. And those who are working on matter are living for their sustenance. And then he says, work done as a sacrifice to Vishnu must be performed. You surrender all your work unto me. So once you see that matter is coming from Krishna, then work that is done manipulating matter, one also begins to do it in the context of Krishna, and therefore one makes spiritual advancement. Second level of realization is Jnani. The Jnani is the philosopher who uses Anuman. The Sankhya is empirical, Anuman is speculative knowledge. it is extrapolation, right? So they realize the impersonal Brahman, which is Nirgun, which is literally without any qualities. And so he conceives of something beyond matter and enters Brahmajyoti. So he is influenced by the Sat potency of the Lord. The materialist is influenced by the Maya potency, the Vairangi Shakti. The Jnani is influenced by the existential or the eternal aspect of Krishna. But that is the limit of his realization. He has no further realization where it is coming from, what else can he do. So his relationship with the Lord is one of denial. That he may not deny the Lord, but he denies the Lord as a person, as good as denying the Lord, and denies all relationships with the Lord, which is again as good as denying the presence of the Lord. So how does the Lord reciprocate? He gives him a place in the Brahmajyoti, right? This is the Brahman Brahmamukti, and he experienced Brahmanand, which is freedom from suffering, but not attaining any happiness. Right? This is moksha. But in this context, this is moksha. So how does one go from Jnani to devotee? Krishna says that I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal. So once again, Krishna is bringing it in the context of his existence. Just like he said that Bhumi Rapi Nalovayu, that the material energies, material elements come from me. Here he is making the same point, that the impersonal Brahman comes from me. And then what happens? Bhaunam Janmanamante Jnanavanma Prapadyate. That after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me. So when one understands this, that Krishna is the cause of all causes, Samatma Satulabha. Very rare, after many births and deaths, but nevertheless, it is a path to devotional service. Next realization is that of the yogi. They follow the Shabda Praman. Right? Now they are listening to the instructions of the Guru and practicing Astang Yoga, and they perceive the Paramatma within the heart. So the Paramatma has qualities but does not have activities. Right? You don't see any pastimes with the Paramatma. You don't see Paramatma dancing in dancing in Gokul. You don't see Paramatma having. There are no scriptures that talk about the activities of Paramatma. He's there. He's there. He's present everywhere. He's listening to everybody. He's fulfilling all the desires, but no pastimes related to it. Right. So this is the Satchit potency of the Lord. And even though the Paramatma is spiritual, but it only exists in the material world. So the realization of the Paramatma is as the source of the material world. There is no Paramatma in the spiritual world. And because Paramatma, Karma Daksha, Garbho Daksha, and Shro Daksha, Vishnu come specifically to sustain the material world. Right? So even though they themselves are completely spiritual, their existence is limited to the source of the material world. Right? So when one meditates on it, one is able to manipulate the material world. Because by meditating on the Paramatma who is within the atoms, you can now change the structure of matter. You can create something out of nothing. You can transform one thing to another. These are all material potencies. Like Prabhupada would say that by Prapti Shakti, one can go and get something from a faraway place. But there's something has to be there. Right? Krishna is the only one who is the creator. So such a person acknowledges the presence of the Lord, but the relationship is not activated because there are no activities attributed to the Lord. So what does he see the Lord as? As the supplier, because that's what the Paramatma is doing. That it is permitting the jivas based on what they desire and deserve. Right? So jiva wants to do something, the Paramatma sees that this is your desire, do you have enough piety to deserve it, and then he sanctions it. So that's the mood of the Paramatma as the supplier, as the soul of the souls. And it is said the Paramatma reciprocates by smiling at him. Smiling at him means that bestows mystical power of him. Right? So if for whatever he desires, the Paramatma will provide him as mystical powers. So if he considers himself to be like Paramatma, then he will merge into the Brahman. So yogi is, again, it's a little special category, because a yogi can be any of the three categories. It could be a yogi could be a worshipping the Brahman, the Paramatma, or could be worshipping Krishna also. In the third canto, Lord Kapila, he talks about how a pure devotee can also be a yogi. Dhruva Maharaj is an example, where using mystic powers, he was worshipping Krishna. Okay? So this particular mantra reflects the mood of a yogi as wanting to establish a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he sees the glaring effulgence, he sees the Brahman that surrounds the Lord, and he says, remove it, so that I can see Swayam Bhagavan. And the Acharyas say that Dasya Bhav, more in a mood of servitude. Then yogi to devotee, 1042, Krishna says, right, that but what need is there, Arjun, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I support and I pervade and support this entire universe. And so this Amsha is Paramatma. So again we see that, just like Krishna said that I support the material world, I support Brahman, now he's saying that I support the Paramatma also. And then these are the various verses that talk about the yogi's progress to spirituality, 6, 14, 15, and 47 talks about the yogi's progress as a devotee. Yogi namapi sarvesham madgatyanam. That one who is the topmost of the yogi. There will be a yogi who can worship him as Brahman, 614. Or there can be a yogi who can worship him as Paramatma, right? Which is kind of like 615. And then there are the yogis who worship him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So all of them, by being guided by a properly situated guru, can attain perfection. Finally, bhakta. Right? So the devotee realizes the bhakta who has Bhagwan, who has qualities, activities, and relationships, and he experiences Paramananda. Right? So when the Premanand of the devotee combines with the Leela Ananda of the Lord, then the result is Paramananda, the greatest of the pleasure. He has the complete Satchitananda, the realization of the Lord. Right? So it is through prayer, bhakti, and endeavor he realizes the Tripada Vibhuti. The Tripada Vibhuti is that the Lord is the source of the material, spiritual, and marginal potency. The external material world, the internal spiritual world, and the jivas, which are the marginal potency. And he also discovers his Siddha Swarup, his original relationship with Lord, and the Lord reciprocates to fulfill that desire to re-establish that relationship. So by the process of bhakta, one who is supreme comes under the control of the devotee. Right? So in a devotee, all the forms of the Lord are reconciled. Right? Again, the 1 to 11, that Vadanti Tattva Tattvavidas, that they realize that Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan, they are all different realizations of the same absolute truth. Right? And in 1855, Krishna says that one can understand me only by devotional service. And one is fully conscious of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God in a whatever rasa that they desire. So what is the conclusion? That an aspiring transcendentalist follows the authorized approach to approach the Lord. So all that is necessary but not sufficient. And strictly speaking, it is not necessary. So since we are talking about sadhakas, it is necessary, as I mentioned earlier, that the Lord does not have to wait for anything. Right? Even if there is no endeavor, if the Lord so desires, He can bestow bhakti. But uh, uh, while that is an exception, as a rule, endeavor is necessary, but not sufficient. So, what is sufficient is the mercy of the Lord, because even with all this bhakti, the Lord is still hiding behind His blinding effulgence. So that is why the devotee is praying for the Lord to bestow His mercy and remove this His effulgence. Right? So this brings us to the end of the end of uh, uh, mantra 15. So thank you very much. We'll stop over here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thai Gaur Premanand.